welcome to the MSDW podcast. I'm Jason Gumpert, editor at MS Dynamics World. On this episode, we are talking about what sellers and marketers need to understand about the ongoing changes in buying trends. My guest, Thomas Manders, CEO of technology and advisory firm Coffee Dunn, is here to help us understand more about the evolution of buyer behavior and how his team is helping organizations evolve their CRM-related technology. Coffee Dunn is the sponsor of this episode, and Thomas shares examples of business processes that Dynamics 365 users can execute on, including steps that bring sales and marketing teams closer together. We also discuss some of the latest D365 marketing technology and what the Coffee Dunn team is looking out for in the near future when it comes to sales and customer insights. All right, well, I'm here with Thomas Manders. Thomas, welcome to the podcast. Can we just start with a bit of an introduction for our listeners?
Sure. A pleasure to be here, Jason. I am the CEO and founder of Coffee Dunn. Our company helps companies fuel growth through connected experiences. We build those experiences on Microsoft Dynamics 365, customer insights, and customer engagement platform. I'm also proud to lead a team of experts that have been with me for 12 and a half years now that we've been in the channel. We do work across a number of industries and geographies, work with companies, medium and large. And so our expertise is really helping companies transform as they look to grow their business.
All right, excellent. Well, it's great to have you here. And I think some of the topics we want to touch on today really get into the heart of what Microsoft's doing in the CRM related realm. And I'm really interested to hear about what you and your team have been up to and how you see some of these things. So I really wanted to start with sort of the relationship between sellers and marketers and the buyers or the prospective buyers that they deal with. Can you talk about how buying trends are changing and what sellers and marketers should understand about those changes at a high level?
Absolutely. I would say probably in the last 10 years and then even more recently with COVID, buyers have been forced online, right? They have to get a lot more research, a lot more information, a lot more competitive analysis online, which increases the relevance and the requirement for marketing to be strong on their content. The days of sales people driving around and having face-to-face meetings, that still exists, but more and more the buyers are expecting to know a lot before, as much as 75, 80% before they even meet with a salesperson. I think the other thing we're seeing is that buyers are now buying teams. So you see, not just a business buyer, but a technical buyer, a financial buyer, a procurement buyer. And so, you're dealing with a team of people who are all interested perhaps in different types of information before the firm or the customer actually makes a commitment to buy a service or product. The other thing I would say too is just, sellers in turn have a lot more information on buyers. And so they're getting better at defining who their ideal customers actually are, or what you hear an ICP or an ideal customer profile. And so they're better able to target ideal customers, those who are likely to buy, and frankly, spend more time with those with a high propensity to buy and less or none, ideally, with clients that aren't likely to buy.
Yeah. Can you talk more about how sellers are evolving their approach based on buyer behavior and maybe how technology is playing a role in that?
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing alignment with sales and marketing. Sellers are looking for more information about the buyers. What events did they attend? What emails did they open? What web pages have they visited? So there's a lot more transparency, frankly, kind of both ways. That there's access to all kinds of information and including things like online reviews, right? Or their peer reviews or competitive insights. So there's a lot more information all the way around, which, I think in a lot of ways makes the buying process more efficient for everybody. Buyers can do a lot more learning at their own pace without the visibility of the company they may buy from. And that way, when they are ready to engage, the sellers have less work to do because the buyer already knows a lot about the product or service they're interested in.
All right. Can we talk about this in specifics around Dynamics 365 and like an example of how sellers and marketers are working together now and maybe some of the ways that D365 is enabling that?
Yeah, I think what we're seeing is the lead management process has changed. No longer is it acceptable for marketing to generate leads and sort of throw them over the wall, so to speak. You hear that expression a lot. Now it's more important for marketing and sales to work together in an integrated platform. And that's obviously a big advantage for Dynamics is that the marketing and sales and customer service applications, frankly, all of them are on a shared database. It's a seamless experience, whether you're working with a contact or an opportunity or an account. That's shared information. You're not having to go into different systems or perhaps get different versions of the truth. And so that lead management process is one where you're really looking for an end-to-end kind of connected experience. And we'll talk a little bit about our connected experience perhaps in a minute, but it's making sure that all of the interactions that are happening on the front end or the top of the funnel get shared all the way through the funnel to the sellers at the bottom. And that's really important because, driving an efficient lead process leads to higher conversion rates, right? The lead velocity is faster. The amount of wasted effort on unqualified leads is reduced. So there's a lot of advantage there in using an integrated platform to drive that end-to-end lead management process.
All right, great. Yeah, I think, as you said, we'll get into maybe some of the more specifics in just a moment. But I wanted to maybe turn to the sort of organizational perspective in terms of how you are advising clients to bring their sales and marketing, teams and also sort of processes and practices closer together.
Yeah, it's quite honestly, it's not an easy change for a lot of organizations, especially when they've maybe operated a certain way for decades. We focus on what we call a connected experience, and we believe that connected experience is what drives growth for organizations. The connected experience is really a couple different dimensions. One is connecting marketing, sales, and service. But second, and maybe more importantly, it's connecting strategy, operations, and technology. We believe that while, Dynamics is a really strong platform, if the strategy's misaligned or the operations are inefficient or the stakeholders aren't in agreement, you're going to end up actually potentially making the situation worse. And so we're big on driving the stakeholder alignment through, change management strategies, communication, training, sort of performance management. And then we follow what we call our plan, build, run methodology. And the front end of that, the planning, is really where we try to get those stakeholders aligned around the strategy and around efficient processes so that their investment in technology produces the desired outcome. I can tell you from, lots and lots of experience, getting, 10, 12, 15 stakeholders in a room from different parts of the organization, you do find that there's often a lot of gaps in how they're approaching a problem or what the problem actually is. And so we focus a lot on getting a clear definition of the problems to be solved and prioritizing those in a way that even if an individual stakeholder doesn't see their problem at the top of the list, they know that it's in the mix and will be addressed eventually. And so that starts to build the teamwork and collaboration you need to start changing the organization.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I can just imagine that in some of those sort of early stage, planning meetings and discussions, there are probably frequently people who think this is just something we're going to get past and move into the, application planning stages and building out the technology, right? But I bet it's more common than not to actually run into some really serious sort of things that need to be issues that need to be talked through or sort of unforeseen sort of blind spots or missing pieces that need to be overcome in those early stages, especially as you get people together.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And I think, if you don't take that approach, what you end up doing is exacerbating the silos that may already exist in the organization, building the walls and making it harder for, the marketing or sales teams or the IT team or whomever to actually work together to solve business problems. And so we believe strongly in that plan phase before we do any of the build. And the build is the implementation. And then, the run part of our business, which is kind of the third leg, is really optimization or helping the organization really truly adopt the new process, the new technology, and the new alignment. And we found that that's just as important, really making sure that things get adopted and, enhancements are identified. If there's problems, they're addressed, but ultimately kind of making sure that the outcome that was established at the plan phase is actually achieved by the end of the project.
Sure. And let's go back, if we could, to talking about the D365, Dynamics 365 application and services of Power Platform, perhaps. Can you talk about some of the specific capabilities that your team likes to bring to bear to help clients kind of get the most out of the work that they're doing with you?
Yeah, as you well know, the Dynamics platform is incredibly robust in the areas that we've focused a lot on the last 10 years, marketing, sales, and to some degree, customer service. There's been a ton of innovation And I think those are areas where you see a lot of new capabilities, a lot of AI co-pilot capabilities coming into play. What we at the same time try to do is work with clients to meet them where they're at. So not every client is ready to take on the most robust or innovative capabilities. A lot of times, frankly, it's a bit of crawl, walk, run. And so we follow, and we've defined, and we encourage our clients to follow a maturity curve that we've built. And it's really helping them start with a foundational set of capabilities, which may be, in the case of marketing, it's basic email marketing, it's emails, it's journeys, it's segments, learning how to engage clients through that process. For sales, it's sort of lead management. It's understanding what insights are available as they manage tasks, they look at activities and so forth. The connection for us in most cases is, frankly, technically is using the campaign entity. Campaigns within Dynamics are really powerful. They're a way to bring together all of the marketing activities and sort of summarize or help categorize the activities of a particular buyer for sales. And so that campaign entity is really the glue that allows you to measure performance around individual tactics, individual efforts, buyer activities, follow through, follow up. And so in terms of, kind of configuration, we do try to bring those two together through the campaign entity in particular, and then things like Power BI reporting that help kind of expose those performance metrics that we see through the engagement, through campaigns, through sales activities.
Okay, yeah, I can certainly imagine campaign being one where it's easy to maybe overlook it or underuse it perhaps. So that's an interesting insight.
It's not necessarily out of box either. I mean, the entity itself is, but the use of it in marketing is sometimes overlooked. And we found that it's a really powerful way to create the KPIs or the ability to measure performance more broadly than just an individual email, let's say, right? Or individual tactic. So we found that that's really maybe an underappreciated element that already exists within the system. It's just typically not used on the marketing side.
Yeah. And then I guess on the other side to really actually track performance. That's from a management perspective.
That's right.
Great. The other big question I had for you today, and it may be not the easiest one to answer in full, but there's so much sort of still to come in Microsoft's roadmap when it comes to customer service, sales, different sales scenarios with agents and just other features coming out for the product. Looking forward for your team, where are you paying attention? What are you looking forward to sort of working on next?
Yeah, so we're on the AI agent game. We've been looking at and adopting elements of AI in our internal operations. So, driving efficiency, scalability, quality, things like building playbooks that we use for discovery. Of course, we use things like Teams, meetings, summaries, transcripts, all those sorts of things. We've developed templates around requirements, estimating, deliverable creation. So there's elements of AI in all of those things. I think, kind of the next step we're taking as it relates to clients is trying to really automate elements of our service. And so trying to, speed up the way we deliver services for clients so they're getting more value in a shorter time at a lower cost. In terms of clients adopting AI, I think the classic case of the data is what matters. So garbage in, garbage out. What we find is that a lot of clients still have siloed data. They have incomplete data, data duplication, dirty data, all those elements that if you try to put that into AI, you're not going to get the right results. And so, I think what we're finding is a desire to push a lot of these innovative capabilities and agent capabilities from Microsoft, but also recognizing that a lot of times there's some groundwork that needs to be done by clients or with clients to help them get ready to be able to take advantage of those capabilities. So that's really what, I think we're trying to do is sort of technology enable our services as much as possible to make them not just more efficient and repeatable, but ensure high quality, that we follow standards in the way we deliver.
All right, excellent. Well, it's been great getting a chance to learn a little more about how the Coffee Dunn team is approaching the world right now and how you're working with your clients. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks, Jason. I appreciate it. It's been a great conversation.
This has been another episode of the MSDW podcast. My thanks once again to Thomas Manders for joining me and this message from Coffee Dunn. Unlocking the strategic power of sales and marketing alignment drives more qualified leads, shortens sales cycles, and boosts revenue performance. View the notes section of this podcast episode to download the Coffee Dunn white paper to explore the real impact of alignment, plus the framework and insights needed to fuel revenue growth together. Ready to take the next step in achieving sales and marketing alignment? Book a complimentary envisioning session to help your team identify high-impact opportunities and build a shared roadmap for growth. View the link to schedule your next session in the notes. And for more insights from Coffee Dunn, you can visit their website, coffee-dunn.com. That's DUNN. And that's it for this episode. If you want to get in touch with me, you can send me an email, jason@msdynamicsworld.com. For all of our updates, please do follow us on LinkedIn. Until next time, this is MS Dynamics World, signing off.